we lost our 7th child, and we go home, and man, I wanted to self-destruct. And so I get in our Honda, I'm headed to this bar, and I just want to get in a fight. And when I open my door, my wallet was not in the door. So I turn around, I go back to our house, and I look inside the house, and I can see Laney's silhouette. And so for the first time, I could clearly see there's some nastiness inside your heart. There were many times where I would look up in the atmosphere and go, am I just not really great? You know, the pursuing of this is always what gets me out of bed. You know, God gave me this desire to craft songs. I was able to get sober kind of miraculously. I woke up one day on a Saturday. I thought if I do this one more day, I would die.
Walker Hayes, what's up, man?
Dude,
So glad to have you here.
thanks for having me. We stretched.
Yes, we did. We were on the floor
We did.
about 10 seconds ago.
Talking about lower back problems. It was good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited to talk to you because I read your book, and actually I listened to it, which I
Okay.
thought was even
Did the
better
honor.
because it was you and Craig going
Yeah.
back and forth. And I found myself on an airplane crying, literally. I was tearing up big time
Yeah.
listening to it, and I think it's because I relate so much to a lot of your story.
Okay.
And I just love hearing a story of perseverance in a way that
Okay.
that you have. And so, you know, the first question, I want to go as much into your story as possible, but I want you to talk to me about how cool it's been to experience success after such a long journey to get here. We'll start there and then maybe dive.
Okay. Well, first you got to know, I never ask people if they get emotional reading the book, because the Audible is the only time I've ever read the book. That's the only time. And I don't want to, because it's so I mean, it's so some of that. So thanks for sharing that you were crying on the plane, because I always am interested, like, do people respond that way? Because that's how there were many times reading the book, the Audible, where I had to go, hey, hold on a second, and just cry, you know, in the booth. So in a good cry.
Yeah.
But man, to experience to experience success career-wise has been a lot of a blessing and a lot of a burden. You know, just fame, success, being able to pay my bills, having money, it has definitely exposed parts of me that are kind of gross, you know, because when you obtain money, you cling tightly to it, and you think, how do I sustain this level of income and importance, you know, that society is feeding, and that affirmation, and you're just like, I would like this is awesome, you know. And so that's kind of nasty. But then there's also, you know, I'm not in debt. You know, my kids have food and clothes, and we're able to give and be generous, and not be like, oh, we're gonna be okay. You know, there's a level of generosity that has increased. But I've also found that my giving, it's scarier to give with more money, which doesn't make sense to me. It's like I have more money to give, but I'm more like I think when we were broke, I would have been more likely to go, here's $100 tip, without thinking of the repercussions or my children's futures, or how many weddings, you know, which is silly, how many weddings to pay for in the future. You know, I don't know. It's money. Money has been a real interesting monster.
Yeah.
That just appeared, you know, with success, and I'm not sure I know really how to navigate it. You know, I'm always in conversations with smarter people than me, asking them, how do you do money? You know, what do you do it? Because when you don't have it, it's not really a problem. You know, it's never a problem in my marriage. But yeah, like, man, and then there's a gratifying sense of like, I just love to write song. For me at the core, like my most basic, exciting thing I can do that God gave me to do in life is wake up, write a song, share it with someone, and for them to go, that's cool. That's complete. To me, that's a complete creative sentence. As something comes to you, it goes out of you, you share it, they put it on the fridge, and then you want to write another song. And so I get to do that for a living now, which is really awesome, and it is, I don't have to do any other jobs. And that's cool.
Yeah, I remember you had to, at one point, you had
did.
multiple jobs, right?
Yes.
Touch on that?
Yeah, my last, main occupation, alongside of songwriting was working at Costco. And I think that was probably 11 years ago, maybe. And yeah, I was stocking produce, and
Because you had a family at that point.
yeah, I had a family, and honestly, our family was growing all the time. So, that was a little bit of that didn't make sense about me and Laney and coming to Nashville. We had a child early. Her name is Leela. She's almost 20. And we were like, oh, we like her. Let's have more. We didn't really put a lot of forethought into how much kids cost and stuff like that, which is why that's why our kids are homeschooled. Is we could never afford childcare. That was never an option. But yeah, so when I was working at Costco, Lainey was actually pregnant with our 6th child, and I had no idea how we were going to, like, insurance was tough. The birth, I needed insurance, really, honestly. And so to get that job, I was actually playing a show at Puckett's Grocery in downtown Franklin, and a young man came up to me and he wanted my autograph. He had heard a couple of my songs, which was really flattering. And I said, bro, what are you doing? What's your story? And he said, well, I work at Costco in the tire center. And I said, I'll give you my autograph if you'll put in a good word for me. And he honestly, you could tell he was like, oh, whoa, like, I thought you were good. Like, I know your songs. And I was like, man, it's not that good right now, and I told him that I had just gotten dropped by Capitol Records and things weren't going so well. And but yeah, he got me an interview, and then I applied and got a job stocking produce. But I loved that job, and I'm still friends with a guy named Mike, who was like the guy who taught me how to stock the cooler. And that was awesome. I mean, they took care of everything. They were our insurance. So we were able to get through, having that kid, having Everly. And it was basically Costco paid for it.
Yeah,
So,
but it sounds like it was a really quite a long journey of you writing songs.
yes.
When, the world would say not many people were listening. Like it was,
Yeah, yeah.
it was
Oh,
like
yeah,
you were trying to do this thing that you believed in, that you didn't have a lot of evidence it was going to work.
No.
What was that like?
Yeah, the way you just said that, it reminds me that honestly, I'm not a type of human that wakes up just so I want to do this. Like I wasn't that focused. I just always had a song idea written on my hand or on a cup or on a napkin in my pocket, or I just was and I'm still like that. I'm always writing, I'm always overthinking life, in circles, and I enjoy it. I enjoy music so much, and I don't think there was any thought in, hey man, I do this so differently, or I want to do this differently, or I think it just came out different. And my favorite song is always the song I'm working on now. It's not yesterday's or tomorrow. It's just, I'm just one track. This is the best song. This is great. Yeah, I have to say this. And And honestly, the response that I didn't get, for 15 years, yes, there was no one listening. And it was surprising to me when that kid came up and loved what I did. But by God's grace, I mean, there's always been the occasional guy or the occasional executive in Nashville or the occasional mentor of mine that for some reason they just encouraged me or noticed enough where I was like, I don't know, man. Shane McAnally wants me to write songs and send them to him, and it was like he believes in me, and so while there was a large part of the earth not responding, I was really grateful. There were always occasionally this person or this encouragement coming from somewhere where I never really thought, I'm just not going to do this. There were many times where I would kind of look up in the atmosphere and go, am I kind of crazy? Like, am I just not really great at it, But then I would write a song about it. I'd be like, am I not great at this? And then I would write a song called Am I Not Great at This? And then I would turn it in or share it with Lainey or my wife or share it with a friend like Craig. And Craig would go, dude, this is great, and so that, to me, that was fun. That was enough. You always are like, even now, there's this tendency to always go, well, what if 10,000 people? What if 1,000,000 people heard? What if maybe the whole universe, maybe it'll get translated into 200 languages? I always did that, even when just my dad liked it, and I'm just a big dreamer, so it was always the pursuing of this is always that's what gets me out of bed. God gave me this just desire to craft songs, and I'm so excited that you can do that even when you're 99.
Yeah.
With bad knees, so you can still write a song.
Do you find yourself encouraging other people who are kind of on the journey up because of what you experienced and how powerful that was?
Look, I would hope that someone would say that I do that. If I'm not doing that, it's because I'm selfishly going, I gotta get better, But I will say, I do have dear friends that would laugh at that question because. Dude, here's the thing. Don't tell me your dream because I won't leave you alone. I mean, I that's all I want to talk about.
Yeah.
With somebody. It is. I mean, I even have a couple's friend who their wife is not a big dreamer. Not the big dreamer person, and that's kind of how me and Lainey are. Lainey's like very content.
Yeah.
Like she's like, I just got you. Like, we're good. I just want you home, and I'm like, but nah, what if, and that's how this couple is. And I can tell when this guy brings up these wild dreams or inventions that he has, I can tell his wife is like, oh, you did it. You pulled Walker's trigger. We're going to be here all night. 'Cause I'm just like, dude, here's the name of your company. Here's a branch of your company. Here's these are the employees you need. Like, again, if an Uber driver tells me their dream, it's over. We're never getting out of the car. I'm just like, can I plan this for you? Which is funny because I'm not that great. Obviously, a lot of people are like 10-year town. For me, it's like, I don't know, might be 20, 25, but yeah, man, I love to dream with people, and I hopefully that's encouraging to them,
Sure.
I am definitely hey, you want to swing for the fence? Let's go. If you want to bunt, let's not hang out,
Yeah. I love that. You're an ideas guy. I feel the same way. It's just so exciting to kind of like bring two minds together and come up with ideas of how you can chase something.
Right.
We interrupt this program to ask you to subscribe. Please just hit that little red button below this video. I'm going to wait. Are you tapping it? Thank you. It means the world to us, and it really allows us to keep this show going and providing valuable content for you. I hope you enjoy this show. Something that I was wondering is that this journey was, you said, like 10, 15 years, whatever it was, to kind of get to this quote unquote success.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of it was also really just about developing yourself. Like you had to kind of weed some things out of you in order to be ready to maybe take on success. And then you also mentioned Craig. I want to go into all of that.
Let's go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it would seem like that, what you said. It would seem like if you met me in 2004, you would hopefully by now in 2025 you'd be like, wow, they don't look like the same guy. And I mean, honestly, that's just all Jesus. That's all Christ inside of me. There was no like ambition in this person in the 2004 me saying I would like to be a better person as my career evolved. That was not a purposeful evolution of me. There was no Christ in this walker, and there is here. And this is not a perfect walker. This walker, I can't wait to see me in 2050. Lord willing, I'm here. I would imagine so much more territory in my heart will be sanctified and claimed, by Christ. But yeah, it's interesting that my career, as I evolved as a human, became wiser, went through the I do a lot of less blaming, on my childhood now, and I am a parent now, and I have lost my father, and I have children who are teenagers now, and I think with time and age inevitably comes wisdom to know what you don't know, and I think a better human comes out the other side for some reason, and it is weird how my music seems to become more successful as I evolve as a person, and I'm not sure that's a coincidence, and there's that whole just obvious, I'm not sure young me would have handled fame. I'm not sure. I'm not saying I'm handling it great now, but man, what a blessing that 26-year-old me didn't stumble across a fancy like moment.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I would still be married. I'd probably be a much more absent father. I would have made a lot more mistakes with that, and I wouldn't have seen the burden of that fame, of that celebrity, of that affirmation coming from the world. But yeah, and then I met, Craig is our story, interestingly enough. It's so funny, an atheist comes here, an atheist alcoholic comes to Nashville to get famous. And then now, 21 years later, a believer wants to share the message of Christ on pop country, platforms. And his best friend's Craig, who gave him a van when he was broke, and that's the nucleus of my set each night. It is getting to the story of Craig, and
wow,
and yeah, it's super, and that's just like that's it in like a really discombobulated sentence, but I met Craig at this church that I did not want to be at about 12 years ago, and this is during the Costco days. And our family was growing. Lenny was always pregnant, and we had no money. And I had just been dropped by my second record label, so I was very, very familiar with the dark parts of the industry. Just getting the call saying, "Hey, we're done with you," and honestly, it didn't hurt that I was just kind of calloused, to those things happening after 12, 13 years in this industry. That was nothing surprising. And so when I lost that record deal, I had a van kind of repossessed because I had a van endorsement with a Volkswagen company. And when I hid the fact that I had been dropped from my label for about 6 months, because I was like, as soon as this dealership finds out that I don't have a record deal, they're gonna take this car away. And I remember when they found out, and they were very kind, and they were like, hey, seems like things aren't really working out for you. We're gonna need to get the van. And I remember my kids and Lanny watching the truck. My kids thought it was awesome. They were like, the van's getting up in the truck, and I was like, I mean, it's cool, but it's not, it's leaving, it's never coming back. And so we lost that van, and we just had this Honda Accord. And Craig, again, met him at a church, walked in Redeeming Grace hammered on a Saturday night. Upon my wife's wishes, I begrudgingly went to church with her just to be supportive. I mean, I loved Lainey. One of our biggest fights as a married couple was the religious part. I was not a believer. She was, and that presented some tension at times. I honestly, at this phase in my life, thought we were done with the attempt to find a church home thing. That was the thing about the South all my life, where I was like, dude, why does everybody ask where you go to church? I don't want to go to church. And so when Laney was invited to this startup church called Redeeming Grace, I was like, for real, Lane, for real, we gotta do this again. And so anyway, she drags me to this church. First person to shake my hand there was Craig. He was obnoxious. I mean, just big eye grin. Dude, I'm so glad you're here. Just shook my hand way too hard, held on to it way too long. I was like, dude, okay, I get it. You are pumped that we're here, and again, I reeked of alcohol. Went back, to Laney and the kids, and I was like, dude, they got some greeters here. Their greeters are for real. And but man, honestly, we struck up a relationship. Craig's adoption of me and my family began, that night. It is, there's me acting like a teenager, running to my room, slamming the door, and Craig's just, hey, you good? That's kind of how he treated us from that night on. And I noticed quickly that Craig and Laura, in a unique way, different from labels, Lainey and I's own families, people that had left us along this process, along this journey, noticing that we weren't doing life like they would approve of. Craig was different. Craig and Laura jumped in our mess. They joined me at shows. They joined my family at baseball games. They came to our house and ate the food that we could provide. They fed us. They never judged. No one was ever like, man, your house is a mess, or you have too many kids, or hey, don't you think maybe you should get a normal job? No one. They never critiqued our life, and they didn't. This was what's crazy. I've never, ever thought of this until right now. I knew they didn't do it behind our backs either. There was a lot of people in my life who could smile at my face and love me to my face, but I always got this feeling that as soon as they shut the door to their car and drove away, they probably shared opinions with each other. I knew that Craig and Laura I knew they never got in the car and went, man, I wish they would clean their house is kind of a mess, or there's writing on the walls, or they skateboard in the house. They just did not do that. And that was refreshing. Isn't even the word. It was unfathomable. And the reason it was unfathomable is that I do that to people. That's what I expect from humans, because that's the way I am. I'm one way around people. And then when Lainey and I get in the car, I'm like, so what about that guy? That's just naturally what we do to people without Christ. And so Craig and Laura were different, and it really impacted me, dude, so much that I will never forget. One night, I driving home from their home, I had a little buzz, and I remember looking over to Laney. She was driving us home, and I just said, "Why do they love us so much?" And I did not have the wisdom or the capacity to understand the power of what I had just asked. But now, in retrospect, I just think only Christ can make someone ask that. Like, I mean, how many times in your life has someone impacted you so much that in the quiet of your thoughts, you go, "What's the deal?
Mm.
Why does that? Why is that? Why do they care so much?" I mean,
So rare.
what an emotional. I mean, I just don't think men are made to feel that. Like, I don't know how I can count on one finger the times that I've stopped in my busy trying to matter life and just gone, dude, it is weird how much that person really loves me and knows me. Not just loves me because of the narrative I've shown them, the Instagram post I've let them see, the songs I've let him hear. He knows me. He knows that I can't do life without another drink. He knows that I have $0 and have to work from 4 a.m. to 11. And then I go write songs like I'm going to eventually make it in this unconquerable industry. I mean, so that was impactful to me. Craig eventually, like my song Craig says, he gave us the van from his garage, which was an additional, that was a cherry on top of the unconditional love we received from him and his family. And what spilled out of the gift of that van was my confusion. If you listen to the song Craig, you just hear a man who doesn't believe in Jesus going, I don't know what's happening. I don't understand what this man has. But this guy might actually know the Son of God.
Mm-hmm.
What I see, what I receive from this human on earth, the brotherhood that we have, it must be supernatural. He might actually know Jesus. That's kind of what the song says. And that's truly, praise God that my music, again, back to, I don't wake up and go, man, I want to be different. I want to write something that's never been written. Praise God, everything I was writing was so honest, and it led to that statement that I made in the song Craig, because I really just, I didn't even think for once that anyone would hear that song except Craig. I just thought, I used writing a song for the art that I believe is supposed to be a form of expression, a way of communicating to anyone who will listen. You gotta know about this friend of mine. Does anybody else have a friend like that? This is what I'm experiencing with this friend. I don't believe, but I mean, he sounds like, I mean, he might actually really know this guy that he says he trusts and believes in.
I want to take a quick break from the conversation to tell you about something I created called the Daily Journal of Grace. The whole goal is to help you connect with God on a deeper level. I love journaling and writing, and so I wanted to create a tool that allowed me to do that every morning, listing out the things I'm grateful to God for and asking myself, how can I show up more like Jesus would? And what are my prayers for today? I just love writing it out. And so that's what the Daily Journal of Grace is. Thousands of people are using it already. And so if you want to check it out, it's on Amazon or it's in the link in the show notes. I appreciate your support and enjoy the rest of the conversation.
So man, I know I could babble on and on about meeting Craig, but to this day we're best friends. The one word to describe him would be a true brother. And our families are extremely tight, and I think that's rare. I think
So rare.
I don't know, man. I think life is really, really short, and I see that as such a blessing that I have a friend, like Craig. I don't think you get many in this lifetime
No,
like that you can know and love, and they know and love you
man.
like that.
I get choked up hearing that,
Yeah.
seriously, and it's just beautiful because I think there's something inside of us, whether we say, whatever we believe in,
Hmm.
we know that what Craig did there is like, it's right. Like
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
what the heart longs for, is like a real relationship. That's
Yes.
so just good and pure and loving. And someone sees you and they don't care about your flaws, and they don't like, how did that change your view of Jesus just
Mm.
by seeing how he treated you?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, it was God and His mercy that I saw that through a believer. I definitely was. I'm ashamed to say this, but I was one of those people outside of the Christian bubble saying hypocrite,
Absolutely.
and so how funny, how ironic that one of those people in that bubble, a greeter basically at a church, is who I would see Christ in. To me, that's just God, like being a father, just laughing at me
Yeah.
and hugging me, going, see, I love you. I love you. I told you, and I love that. I can relate to that as a father and as a son. Um, that's a good image of God. I wish every man could feel, and unfortunately we can't, that we all have broken fathers or absent fathers, and we are absent fathers and broken fathers and stuff. So, but man, just that Craig began to soften my heart. Now,
Mhm.
honestly, it was very merciful of God to give me a Craig before certain things happened in our life, and we lost our seventh child. She was a stillborn. Her name was Oakley. Almost lost Lainey. So, uh, and I was able to get sober kind of miraculously. I know everybody has a different path to sobriety. Sobriety and recovery. It's not the remedy. Recovery is not a one size fits all hat. It's a different process for everyone. Some are cold turkey, never look back. Some are quit, relapse, quit, relapse. Some are the seventh rehab is the one. For me, I woke up one day at Costco and I thought, on a Saturday, I thought, if I do this one more day, I would die. I felt physically ill. And I'm not really one to like wake up and pay attention to ailments. We were talking about them earlier. I do as I get older. As I get older, I'm like, whoo, what's that? But at this point in my life, I remember waking up and just feeling toxic is the only word I know how to describe it. And I just thought, man, I'm not sure if I open that fridge and I start this again today, I may not wake up tomorrow. I just, something felt wrong. And so one day of sobriety turned into two turned into a week, and a week turned into 6 months. And then I had this fear of, dude, I don't want to go backwards. Like I've never made it this far. And so, then I had this fear of, oh, I just don't want to start again. May not be like the most righteous way to quit, but it helped me. It kept me going another day. But I was 2 years sober when we lost Oakley, wanted to jump off the wagon when we lost our daughter. I remember, again, not a believer at the time. Life has lost its meaning. Music has lost its luster, its joy. Even songwriting felt absolutely pointless to me when we lost Oakley, which is interesting. That's the only time in my life where I woke up. That's it. Actually, that is. A lot of people say, "Hey, when did you ever Did you ever want to quit? That's it. The day after we lost Oakley.
Quit music.
Yeah. The quit music. The only time I've ever wanted to quit is when we lost our daughter, and I didn't see the point in anything. The thought of getting on stage and singing to people with that loss so fresh seemed really stupid. But the day we buried Oakley was a incredibly painful but unforgettable, and just kind of, maybe not pivotal is the word, but it was just such a mixture. We go to the cemetery. My wife was still physically like ailing from birth, childbirth. And we go to this cemetery, and she would like to have a service, a Christian service for Oakley. I was not going to fight that, at this point. Not with Laney hurt. I wasn't going to battle anything. So I just went along with it. And we, there's this box, and our baby's in there, and Laney's losing it. And Craig did a little sermon, which, mind you, the impact Craig had on me is apparent in the fact that he was at this service. I didn't want anyone near me. No one was invited to this service. No, none of our parents, no one. For some reason, the loss of Oakley reminded me how many people disagreed with our way of life, our life choice. For some reason, grief really exposed a lot of anger in me and a lot of sadness in Laney. So we bury Oakley, we watch the box go in the ground, which is just kind of, people don't see that enough. I mean, that's the finality of life is very interesting to see. But me and my sons, we grab a shovel at the cemetery, and we fill up the hole, and there's dirt on our shoe, and we leave and we go home. And man, I wanted to self-destruct. That's my natural obviously response to pain is clean slate, end it all, blow it up, go to jail, get in a fight, just do something crazy, start over, And so I get in our Honda, I'm headed to this bar, and I just want to get in a fight. I want to get hammered, get in a fight, and just lose all control. So I go to this bar in Franklin, and as soon as I open my door, I remember exactly where I parked on the street. And when I opened my door, my wallet was not in the door. And I'm like, doggone, So I turn around. It's like a 2.5 mile drive. I go back to our house. I come up on the front of our porch, and I look inside the house, and through the window of my front door, I can see Laney's silhouette just sitting on the couch. And look, man, Laney's my high school. I don't know how to describe her, what she means to me. I met her in 11th grade, and she has been my only friend, just friend, best friend, everything in my life. And so for the first time, really in a really long time, I could clearly see, you're not that great, Walker. There's some nastiness inside your heart that you're getting a front row seat of right now, because what you were about to do, because of your feelings, you were about to go maybe hurt somebody, maybe you get hurt, go to jail, then go to rehab, who knows what, just you were about to take problem after problem after problem, put it in a dumpster, and then just dump it on your family, your wife, your kids, and your wife, who, mind you, the day we bury her daughter too. Again, even telling this story, it's been my daughter, my this, my that. It's Laney's daughter. It's Laney's family. It's Laney's pain. It's her sadness, and she's by herself on this couch in the dark. And that was the first time I realized she's alone too. And what kind of husband what kind of man does that so easily? And so the gross impacted me that day. Just the truth of who I can be had never been clearer. And so that began this spiral of, maybe I need a savior. You know, what is it? How do, and it was really good for me, because I think most of my life I looked at life as like everyone else was the enemy, and I needed redemption from them, from you, from this, from the music biz, from this. And that day I saw, man, I need help from me. Like I need armor to shield me from myself, because if I don't have one, I may destroy everything that is actually precious to, not my desires, not my career, but I might destroy my relationship with my wife, with Lainey, with my love of this life, and my kids. Where are my kids? On the day we bury Oakley, I couldn't tell you where my 6 children were, because I was too busy, wanting to jump off the wagon. And so that essentially led me to some conversations with Lainey about, hey, can you tell me, man, please give me an example. Please share with me someone who has been rescued by Christ. Please show me. And she said, one night I was on the road and we were having this conversation on the phone, and I said, please give me one example. Which obviously in that conversation, you're like, man, God's working on Walker, because that's not a question I would have ever asked Lainey. I would have been way too proud, even if I thought that. And I said, please give me one person. And she said, what? I mean, look at Paul. He like killed Christian, held people's jackets while that dude was stuck, And I said, well, Paul doesn't count. I'm like, he's in the manual. So I was like, I don't know. And she shared with me a book, which is funny because you're a book guy.
Mm-hmm.
She shared with me a book called Secrets of an Unlikely Convert.
Okay.
And like you said, you saw similarities. I'm telling you, this woman, her name is Rosario Butterfield, and her testimony and my testimony, as far as our inner wrongs, our inner sins, our inner pride, our testimony was so similar. The only thing different was her knees were on the ground and she surrendered her life to Christ. Now, I think at this time, I'm obviously saying, please just give me, I'm begging somebody, show me it's real.
Yeah.
And so my knee is like an inch off the ground. And that book convinced me to buy a Bible. And the next day, when our bus rolled into town, I snuck into a Books A Million or a Barnes, I can't remember what it was. I snuck into a store, bought a Bible, and then began to secretly read it every morning. Just devoured it, just cover to cover. And I hid it from my family. I was too embarrassed to tell Lainey at the time. But man, I just started reading about people, and everybody in the Bible, they were like me. They weren't amazing. They need everything that was amazing that happened in their life. You can only give glory to God, not them. They were failures. They were idiots. I think as a kid, I'd always heard of every human in the Bible was like this heroic thing, but I noticed there was a trend of like, they mess up, God redeems them. They need God, they forget they need God, God redeems them. And then the whole Bible points at this one person that I was born to have a relationship with, which is the Messiah, that the Son of God, that it's a person. And so, I need, my need for a savior was never more apparent, and he was there, the whole time. So yeah, I could talk about, I just kind of glazed over, the high points of my testimony, and that's just me meeting Christ. From then on, it just continues. The walk with Him is even more exciting, and it's a crazy roller coaster. But that was my encounter, with the Son of God, giving my life to Him, surrendering, just giving Him my heart, and then ever since then, I've been learning. Honestly, I've just been learning. He just wants your heart. I think I wake up sometimes going, "Can I do this for you?" Or, and it's like, again, I'm just reminded, He just wants my heart, and that is everything. That's everything, but it's pretty simple,
Man, I'm so grateful for your just raw, honest vulnerability. Like I said, I see myself in you, and I'm 11 months sober right now.
Oh, let's go, bro! Congrats!
Thank you.
Awesome.
And you just, so many things you say, they just hit me right in the soul, is because you're willing to be so real and talk about the things that you struggle with, you aren't perfect with. And I just think that's such a gift. And I'm just really grateful for that.
Yeah.
And, you talked about a lot of really difficult things that you experienced. Did it shape how you think God uses everything for good? Like even the hardest things in your life? Like
100%. I can't, man. The only way I know how to describe it, and honestly, even when I describe it, I feel like I lack the. I feel like my vocabulary cannot articulate how this makes sense at all, and I don't think I'm making it up just to make some of the things I've experienced not have happened in vain. Because I can do that. I can just be like, "Oh, that hurt is good," and I feel like sometimes I'm just trying to give myself this motivational speech and trick myself into feeling that. But and my wife would agree, and we share this feeling that we cannot describe. But of all the blessings and burdens in this lifetime, I'm 45, so maybe I have a lot of life to live. Maybe I don't. Maybe I get to meet Jesus soon. I don't know. But the most important, valuable thing that I've ever tasted, felt, experienced on this earth is losing a child. The only way I know how to describe it, I've used this analogy a lot, is if my whole existence was a house and it was just burning down, and you were like, "Dude, you have 5 seconds to run in there and grab one thing," it would be that loss. I don't think I've ever had anything happen to me that said, "Hey, life is brief," and it's not the ultimate reality. Reality is not just what you can see here in this little existence of life. And I learned that then, and as I described to you, it really shined a spotlight on my need for a savior. And that is priceless. I mean, everything is, I count everything lost, as a loss to the gain of knowing Christ Jesus, my Lord and Savior. It's just the most valuable. And I think, again, losing Oakley, leaving this earth, That was it. Like I would take that before any plaque, any millions of dollars, any house, mansion, fancy, like over music, like any song. There's nothing that compares to that moment that kind of brought me to my knees, where Christ dwells. So yeah, I don't. Again, when I try to articulate that, I feel I'm like, dude, do you even write songs for a living? Like how? Like, but it's indescribable, honestly. But yeah, and I know it doesn't. I know that probably may not make sense.
It did.
Yeah.
It gave me chills.
Okay.
Man. Good. Absolutely. Seriously.
Chills are good.
Yeah, definitely. It's been so powerful just talking to you, and
Thanks.
thank you for just sharing a little bit of your story for other people to hopefully get something out of. I could talk to you all day. Maybe we'll do this
I got you, bro. Let's do it again.
I have one question.
Yeah.
I ask people, do you have a favorite quote or a song lyric or anything like that?
My dad always. I mean, this isn't like one of my favorite things about my dad was that he lived this quote, which was interesting to me because as I've gotten older, especially in my industry, it's hard. It's hard to live this quote. I don't think people naturally live this quote. And I may not say it word for word, but he would say, you judge the character of a man by how he treats someone who can't help him. And that's a hard, that is, I think when you say that quote, you're like, duh. But I'm like, well, try to do it, try to do it by lunchtime and see how that works out for you, which will draw you to need, it'll draw you to like, whew, I need some help doing that because I don't really do that well,
It feels like Craig was a great representative.
Oh my goodness. Totally. And I love that you said that because when you see that, you don't get it. It's not of this world. It's not. It is that the carrying out of that quote is it's a superpower.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
That's great, man. I love that.
Yeah.
Let's end on that. Thank you so much for talking. Appreciate it, Walker.
Let's go. Dude, nice job.
Thank you so much for tuning into this conversation. We hope you loved it, and we hope you share it with your friends. And we also hope you subscribe. It's free for you to do, and it helps us out so much. These episodes are directed and edited by the one and only Mason Allen. This show would not happen without him. I'm Nicholas John. I hope you have a great day.